The city was alive with noise and movement, but the diplomat walked with quick steps, almost as if he wanted to escape the crowd. He was a tall man with sharp eyes, dressed in a long coat that brushed against his knees. His face showed calm confidence, but deep inside he was worried. His wallet carried more than just money and cards. It carried identity papers, secret codes, and a pass that allowed him to enter places that only a few people in the world had seen. He kept one hand inside his coat, feeling the wallet as if to remind himself that it was safe. But fate works in strange ways. As he crossed the busy street, someone brushed against his arm. The push was small, just enough to break his focus. In that short moment, the wallet slipped out of his coat pocket and fell silently onto the cold pavement. The diplomat did not notice. His eyes were already on the building ahead, a tall structure lit with golden windows. He kept walking, unaware that the most important thing he carried was no longer with him. A few steps behind him, a hand moved toward the wallet. The hand was thin and pale, almost shining under the streetlights. Long fingers closed around the leather, and the owner lifted it carefully as if holding something both strange and precious. The hand did not belong to an ordinary human. Her skin had a faint glow, and when she raised her head, her silver eyes reflected the light like mirrors. She was not from this world. The girl looked no older than 17 in human years, but her gaze carried a depth that did not belong to youth. Her hair fell in smooth, dark waves, but when the light touched it, strange blue shades shimmered inside. People passed by her, laughing and speaking, yet no one seemed to notice how unusual she looked. It was as if some invisible curtain kept her hidden from the world. Only one man would notice her that night, the diplomat. She opened the wallet and turned it in her hands. Her fingers traced the edges, pressing against the fabric as though trying to understand its purpose. She pulled out a card with the man's name and picture. She tilted her head, reading the letters slowly, whispering the sounds as if learning a new language. She touched the paper money and lifted it close to her eyes, fascinated by the colors and patterns. She even smiled for a second, a soft smile filled with curiosity. But when she reached the pass, the glow in her eyes dimmed. Her smile faded, replaced by something colder. She stared at the card, then at the tall man who was already steps away. Her lips moved and she spoke a word in her own language, a word that meant danger. The diplomat suddenly felt a strange tension in the air. He stopped. Something inside told him to check his pocket. His hand reached inside his coat. The space was empty. His heart skipped a beat. He turned quickly, eyes scanning the street, and that was when he saw her. She stood still, holding the wallet in both hands. The crowd flowed around her like water around a stone, yet she was unmoving, locked in place. Their eyes met, his sharp human eyes filled with suspicion, and her silver alien eyes glowing with something he could not understand. In that instant, the noise of the city seemed to vanish. It was as if the whole world had gone silent, leaving only the two of them staring across the distance. The diplomat felt a shiver crawl down his back. Who was this girl? Why was she holding his wallet? For a moment he thought she might be a thief, but no thief looked like that. No thief had eyes that seemed older than time. He took a cautious step forward, his voice low and steady. "That wallet," he said. "It belongs to me." The girl blinked slowly. She did not move away. Instead, she looked at the wallet again, then back at him. Her expression was unreadable. There was no fear in her face, only curiosity. She tilted her head slightly as if studying him. The diplomat felt unease grow inside him. Something about her presence was wrong. It was not just the fact that she had his wallet. It was the way the air around her seemed different, heavier, filled with energy he could not explain. He wanted to step forward and take the wallet from her hand, but a quiet voice in his mind warned him to stay cautious. The girl raised her chin and smiled softly. It was a small smile, but it carried mystery, like a secret that she alone knew. Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and she whispered almost to herself, "I found this." The diplomat froze. She spoke. Her voice was soft, musical, and yet strange. The sound of it sent another shiver down his spine. He realized now that this meeting was not an accident. It was something far greater. The night grew colder, the street louder again, but between the diplomat and the girl, silence ruled. He knew his life was about to change, but he had no idea how far the change would reach. And as their eyes locked once more, the story of danger, trust, and choices had already begun. The diplomat stood frozen, his wallet still resting in the hands of the strange girl. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The noise of the city, the honking cars, and the chatter of people seemed distant, like echoes from another world. All that mattered now were those silver eyes watching him carefully. The girl turned the wallet slowly, almost like a child examining a toy, but her eyes were not playful. They were sharp, studying every detail. She tilted her head again, and the faint glow on her skin pulsed once like a heartbeat of light. The diplomat felt a strange pressure in his chest, the kind that comes before danger or revelation. She raised the wallet higher, letting him see that she still had it. Her lips parted slightly and her soft voice came again, though the words were broken. "You dropped this." "Not mine." The diplomat blinked. She spoke his language, though clumsy and uneven. Still, the meaning was clear. He stepped closer, his shoes clicking against the pavement. "Yes," he said carefully. "It is mine. You should give it back." But she did not move. Instead, she opened the wallet again and looked inside. Her fingers brushed across the diplomat's photo ID. She whispered his name slowly, testing the sound as though the letters were heavy stones she carried in her mouth. Hearing his name from her lips sent a chill racing down his spine. "Where did you learn to speak this language?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The girl looked at him with a calm expression, almost like she did not understand the question, or perhaps she did not want to answer. Finally, she said, "I listen, I watch, I learn fast." The diplomat's heart beat faster. "Who was she?" No, what was she? Her skin looked too smooth, almost glowing under the city lights. Her silver eyes reflected everything, yet revealed nothing. She looked young, but her gaze carried an ancient stillness, something that belonged to a being older than humanity itself. He stepped closer again, now only a few feet away. "That wallet is important," he said firmly. "You should return it." For a moment she hesitated, then closed the wallet with both hands and held it against her chest. "Important," she repeated softly, almost as if testing the meaning of the word. Her silver eyes flickered with something that could have been understanding, or warning. The diplomat clenched his jaw. Something about her behavior was strange. She did not act like a thief. She did not even seem interested in keeping the money or the cards. She was studying the object itself, almost like a scientist studying a rare specimen. Finally, she extended her hands and offered the wallet back to him. He reached out, but before he could take it, she spoke again. "What is diplomat?" Her question stopped him cold. How did she know that word? His hand froze inches from the wallet. He looked into her silver eyes, searching for some sign that she was joking. But she was not joking. She was serious, curious, and strangely innocent. "Where did you hear that word?" he demanded. She only tilted her head and repeated, "Diplomat." This time her voice was sharper, clearer, as though she wanted the truth. He swallowed hard. He could not explain everything to her. Not here, not now. But the way she asked made it impossible to avoid. "A diplomat is someone who speaks for his country," he said carefully. "Someone who makes peace, or prevents war." Her eyes widened slightly at the word peace. For a moment her expression softened. Almost like a memory had touched her heart. She looked down at the wallet and whispered, "We have no diplomats." "Only fighters." The words struck him like a stone. No diplomats, only fighters. The idea was terrifying. What kind of world had no peacekeepers, only soldiers? Before he could ask more, her eyes darted toward the street. She looked nervous, almost afraid. The faint glow on her skin grew brighter, pulsing faster. She stepped back, clutching the wallet tightly. The diplomat followed her gaze. Across the street, a black car had slowed down. Its windows were tinted, hiding the faces inside. The car did not move like ordinary traffic. It crept forward, almost hunting. The girl whispered quickly, "They are near." The diplomat felt his breath catch. "Who?" he asked sharply. She shook her head. "Not yours. Not humans." The car stopped. The doors opened and two men in dark suits stepped out. They looked ordinary to everyone else, blending perfectly with the city night. But the girl's face told a different story. Her silver eyes narrowed, glowing faintly. She gripped the diplomat's hand suddenly, pressing the wallet back into his palm. Her touch was cold, almost electric. "They are not here for you," she whispered. "They are here for me." The diplomat's mind raced. None of this made sense. An alien girl? Men in black suits? Why was she giving his wallet back if she was the one they wanted? Before he could speak, she looked directly into his eyes and whispered words that would change his life forever. The diplomat's heart pounded like a drum. The words of the alien girl echoed in his ears. "Your world is in danger." He stared at her silver eyes, searching for some sign of a lie, but all he saw was a quiet seriousness, as if she carried the weight of something far greater than herself. The men in black suits crossed the street with calm, steady steps. To the crowd, they looked like ordinary agents or bodyguards, but the girl's hand tightened on the diplomat's wrist. Her grip was cold and strong, stronger than any normal young girl could manage. "Do not let them see me," she whispered, her voice low and sharp. The diplomat pulled his coat slightly forward to cover her, though he still did not understand why he was doing it. His training told him to call for help, to alert security, but another part of him, deep, instinctive, told him to stay silent. Something about her presence demanded protection. The men in suits stopped near them. Their faces were calm, their eyes hidden behind dark glasses even though it was night. One of them spoke, his tone polite but firm. "Excuse me, sir. Did you drop something?" The diplomat froze. His mind raced. Should he admit the wallet had been lost? Should he mention the girl? He felt the cold press of her hand again, a silent warning. He forced a small smile. "No," he said carefully. "Nothing of mine is missing." The men studied him for a moment longer, their heads tilted slightly like predators sniffing the air. Then, without another word, they stepped back and walked toward the car. The diplomat watched them enter, and the vehicle rolled slowly down the street, blending into the night once again. The girl released his hand. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then she whispered, "Thank you." The diplomat turned on her sharply. "What is going on? Who are they? And who are you?" His voice was low but urgent. She looked at him with calm silver eyes. "They are hunters," she said softly. "They are not from this city, not from this world. Like me." The words hung heavy in the air. The diplomat swallowed, his mouth suddenly dry. He had suspected something unusual about her, but to hear her say it so openly, it shook him. "You're saying you are alien?" he asked. She nodded once, simple and certain. "Yes." The diplomat stared at her. A dozen questions burned inside his mind. Where she came from, why she was here, what danger she spoke of, but he could not speak them all at once. Instead, he managed only one. "Why me? Why my wallet?" The girl lowered her gaze to the ground. "I did not choose," she admitted. "It fell, I picked it up. But when I saw what is inside, I knew. You are someone important, someone who can speak for many." Her words made his chest tighten. A diplomat, indeed, he spoke for his country, for peace, for negotiations. But what could he say to beings not even human? "Why were those men chasing you?" he asked finally. The girl's eyes darkened. For the first time, he saw fear break through her calm mask. "Because I left them," she whispered. "I escaped. They wanted me to help them, to use me, but I refused. So now they hunt." The diplomat stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Help them do what?" She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. Her words came slowly, heavy with warning. "To enter your halls. To take your leaders. To change your future." His breath caught. His halls. His leaders. Was she talking about the government? About global meetings? Suddenly, the importance of his wallet struck him again. Inside it was not only his ID, but his special access pass. If those men, if they got it, they could walk into restricted places, into meetings where world leaders sat. The girl must have read the realization on his face, because she nodded. "Yes, that is why I returned it." "If they had it, your leaders would already be in danger." The diplomat felt a wave of unease sweep through him. This was no random encounter. No accident. He was standing at the edge of something vast and terrifying. He studied her again, trying to find words. "Why tell me this? Why not disappear?" Her answer was quiet but firm. "Because I cannot fight alone. And you are not like them. You did not betray me. You protected me." Her words struck deep. He had acted almost without thinking, but in her eyes it had meant something. It had created a fragile trust between them. The diplomat drew a long breath. "If what you say is true, then we are both in danger. They will come again." The girl nodded slowly. "Yes, they will not stop. Not until they catch me." For a moment, the diplomat considered walking away, letting her vanish into the night. It would be the safer choice. It would mean returning to his life, his duties without this shadow hanging over him. But something in her eyes, ancient, lonely, pleading, held him in place. He whispered almost to himself, "Then what do we do now?" The girl lifted her gaze to the stars above the city skyline. Her silver eyes glowed faintly as she answered, "We survive. And I show you why your world must be ready." The diplomat's heart sank and raced all at once. He realized this was no longer about a wallet, no longer about an accident. This was the first contact, and it had already begun. The diplomat could not shake the echo of her words. Your world must be ready. His mind turned in circles, trying to make sense of the impossible. A girl who was not human, men who hunted her, warnings of danger that reached beyond his city, beyond his nation. He had faced leaders, wars, and tense negotiations, but nothing compared to this moment. This was not just politics. This was survival. The night air grew colder, brushing against his skin like invisible fingers. The girl walked a step ahead, her silver eyes darting from shadow to shadow as though danger hid in every corner. She carried herself with quiet strength, but her glow pulsed faintly, betraying her fear. Finally, she stopped near a row of empty benches under a flickering streetlight. She turned and studied him, her expression unreadable. For the first time since they met, she placed the wallet on the bench between them, as though setting down a burden. "Now you know," she said softly. The diplomat stared at the wallet, then back at her. "I don't know anything," he said. "Not enough anyway. If what you say is true, then you can't just leave me with pieces. You must explain." Her silver eyes glowed faintly as she tilted her head. "Explain?" "Yes," he said firmly. "Who are you? Why did you run? And why tell me at all? You could have stayed hidden." For a long moment she said nothing. The flickering light made her face shift between shadow and glow, like two sides of a coin. Finally she spoke. "On my world, I had no choice. I was born into a place where only strength mattered. Only fighters ruled. No peace, no talks, only battles. When I learned about your world, I wanted to see it, to understand why humans speak instead of kill, why you have diplomats, not only warriors." Her voice trembled, though her eyes stayed steady. "They found out. They wanted me to use what I learned, to help them enter your halls of power, to take your leaders, to control without blood but with silence." The diplomat's chest tightened. Her words painted a picture darker than any war he had known. "A quiet invasion, not with weapons but with influence, and you refused?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, I refused, I ran. But now they hunt me. They will never stop until they succeed or until I am gone." The diplomat rubbed his temple, trying to think clearly. Every part of him screamed to call for security, to hand her to someone higher, someone who could handle this. But another thought cut through. If what she said was true, trusting the wrong people might deliver her straight into the hands of those hunters. The girl watched him closely, as if she could sense his conflict. Then she leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. "I have something to offer." Her words made him pause. "Offer?" "Yes," she said. "Your world does not know what is coming, but I do. If you protect me, I will share what I know. Secrets of their ships, how they hide among you, how to stop them before they take control." The diplomat's heart pounded faster. She was giving him a choice, one that could shift everything. But it was not an easy choice. Protecting her would mean betraying his duty, hiding a truth larger than himself. Yet refusing her might mean handing the future of his world to enemies already inside the shadows. "Why me?" he asked finally. "Why not go to someone else, someone with power?" Her eyes softened just for a moment. "Because you already chose. When the hunters asked, you denied them. You protected me without knowing who I was. That is why." The diplomat swallowed hard. Her words carried weight, pressing into him. He thought back to the moment with the agents, the simple decision to keep silent. A small act, but to her it meant trust. He looked at the wallet still resting on the bench. The object that had started everything now felt heavier than stone. It held not just papers and cards, it held a choice. She leaned closer, her silver glow brushing against his shadow. "I do not ask for much. Only that you do not give me to them. Only that you listen. In return, I will give you knowledge that no human has ever held." Her voice grew softer, almost a whisper. "This is my offer." The diplomat stared into her eyes, his breath slow and heavy. He could feel the weight of history pressing down, as if the entire world balanced on this decision. Was she telling the truth? Or was this some trap, some clever trick to lure him deeper? Before he could answer, a sound echoed down the street, the distant hum of another black car. The girl's silver eyes narrowed. "They are near again," she said quickly. The diplomat's chest tightened. The offer still hung between them, unanswered. But now time was running out. He had to decide, and soon. He took a slow breath, his voice low. "If I accept your offer, what happens then?" The girl's expression shifted into something strange, a mix of hope and warning. Her words came like a vow. "Then you will no longer stand for one country. You will stand for your world." The hum of the car grew louder, closer. The streetlight flickered one last time before going dark. And in that darkness, the choice of trust or betrayal pressed harder than ever. The hum of the black car grew louder as it crawled into the street, its headlights cutting long, sharp beams across the pavement. The diplomat felt the girl tense beside him. Her silver eyes flickered like two warning lights, glowing faintly in the darkness. "They are here," she whispered. The diplomat's pulse quickened. He glanced at the wallet on the bench, then snatched it and shoved it deep into his coat. Whatever this was, he could not leave it behind. The girl stepped closer to him, her hand gripping the edge of his sleeve. Her touch was urgent, almost desperate. "We must move now." The car door opened with a soft click. Two men stepped out, their faces expressionless, their suits blending perfectly with the night. Their movements were smooth, almost mechanical. They looked like ordinary agents to anyone else, but the diplomat saw what the girl had already seen, the cold, deliberate precision of hunters. The diplomat's throat tightened. He had faced negotiations with ruthless leaders, but never had he felt such raw danger. The men scanned the street, their eyes hidden behind dark glasses. One of them tilted his head slightly like a predator catching a scent. The girl tugged at his arm. "Run," she whispered. The diplomat hesitated. Running was not his way. Diplomats stood, they spoke, they negotiated. But this was not a table with words, it was a hunt. And he realized too late that his only choice was flight. Together, they darted into the side street, their footsteps echoing against the concrete. The girl moved quickly, almost too quickly for her size, pulling him forward with surprising strength. The air rushed cold against his face as they weaved between buildings, their shadows stretching under the pale glow of street lamps. Behind them came the steady rhythm of footsteps. The hunters were following. Not running wildly, not rushing, but moving with controlled, inevitable pace, like wolves who knew their prey could not escape forever. The girl glanced back, her silver eyes narrowing. "They are faster than they look," she said. "Where do we go?" The diplomat asked between heavy breaths. "Not open places," she answered quickly. "They see everything there. We must hide where humans crowd," he thought fast. The night market. Just a few streets away, hundreds of people gathered every evening under bright lights selling food, clothes, and trinkets. If they could reach it, the crowd might shield them. "This way," he said, pulling her toward the main road. They turned sharply, the sound of the hunter's footsteps still close behind. The girl stumbled for a moment but regained her speed. Her glow dimmed slightly as though she were trying to suppress it, to blend into the shadows. They reached the edge of the market. The air was filled with the smell of roasted food and the chatter of voices. Neon signs flickered above small stalls, painting the night in red and blue light. The diplomat pulled the girl into the sea of people. For a moment it worked. They moved through the crowd, shoulders brushing strangers, the noise swallowing the sound of pursuit. The diplomat's heart pounded with hope. Maybe they had lost them. But the girl shook her head sharply. "No, they are here," he followed her gaze. Across the market, the two men in suits moved with chilling calm, slipping through the crowd without difficulty. No one else noticed them, but their eyes, hidden by glass, were locked directly on him and the girl. "They don't stop," the diplomat muttered. "They never stop," the girl replied. They pushed deeper into the market, past glowing lanterns and shouting vendors. The diplomat's coat brushed against hanging fabrics, knocking over small trinkets. A seller shouted angrily, but he did not stop. The girl kept pulling him forward, her glow hidden now, her steps quick and precise. Then came the sound, the sharp crackle of a small device. One of the hunters had raised something in his hand, a sleek black tool. The crowd around him did not react, but the girl's eyes widened. "They mark us," she said urgently. "What does that mean?" The diplomat asked. She did not answer. Instead, she yanked him into a narrow alley behind the market stalls. The air here smelled of damp stone and smoke. The walls were close, graffiti scattered across the bricks. They ran until the alley split in two directions. The diplomat hesitated, unsure which way. Left or right? The girl closed her eyes for a second, listening. Then she pointed left. That way. Less sound. They will expect right. They rushed left, their footsteps splashing through shallow puddles. The diplomat's chest burned from running, but he kept going. He could not stop now. Behind them, the hunters entered the alley. Their steps were calm, steady, confident. The sound of pursuit grew closer again. The girl slowed suddenly, pressing him against the wall. Her silver glow pulsed faintly. "They cannot catch me," she whispered. "If they do, your leaders will fall. Your world will fall." The diplomat looked into her glowing eyes. Sweat ran down his face, his heart thundered. But her words struck harder than fear. "I won't let them," he said firmly. For the first time, she gave him a true smile, a smile not of mystery but of trust. Then she took his hand again. "Then run with me, until the end." And with that, they vanished deeper into the city night, the hunter's shadows stretching long and cold behind them. The diplomat and the alien girl ran until their lungs burned and their legs trembled. At last, the narrow alley spilled into a forgotten part of the city, a quiet place where the streetlights were broken and silence ruled the night. The girl slowed first, her silver glow fading to a faint shimmer. She leaned against the wall, catching her breath while the diplomat bent forward, hands on his knees, his chest rising and falling heavily. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of traffic far behind them. The hunters had not followed into this place, or maybe they had and they were waiting. The diplomat did not trust the silence, but it was all they had. Finally, he straightened and looked at her. "We cannot keep running like this," he said, his voice rough. "If you want me to believe you, you must tell me everything. Who are they? Why are they after you? And what danger do you mean when you say my world will fall?" The girl's silver eyes lifted to meet his. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked up at the dark sky where no stars shone through the city lights. Her voice when it came was soft but carried the weight of truth. "They are not men," she whispered. "They wear human shapes, but they are not human. They come from a fleet above your skies, hidden where your machines cannot see. Their mission is simple. Take control before your people can fight back." The diplomat felt his skin crawl. "Take control? How?" Her eyes darkened, glowing faintly in the shadows. "Through leaders. They do not need armies if they can command the voices of power. With the right faces, the right papers, the right passes." She nodded toward his coat where the wallet was hidden. "They can walk into your governments. They can speak as if they belong. And once they are inside, your world will obey without even knowing it has been conquered." The diplomat felt cold sweat on his back. He had spent his life guarding secrets, protecting fragile peace, negotiating between nations. But this was no longer politics. This was theft of the future. He forced his voice steady. "And you? What part do you play in this?" Her shoulders lowered. For the first time, she looked vulnerable. "I was meant to help them. I was born with knowledge of languages, of human speech and memory. They trained me to be their bridge, to enter halls of power and speak for them until no one questioned. But I saw what it would mean. No peace, no freedom, only silence. So I escaped." Her voice trembled, but her eyes stayed sharp. "That is why they chase me. To them, I am not a girl. I am a weapon they lost." The diplomat's chest tightened. He saw now why she had returned the wallet, why she had warned him. Her defiance had made her a target, and by helping her, he had become one too. He asked carefully, "Why should I trust you? How do I know you are not tricking me just as they might?" She stepped closer, her glow brushing faint light onto his coat. "Because I gave you the choice. I could have kept the pass. I could have delivered it to them. If I wanted your world to fall, it would already be falling." Her words cut deep. He thought of the moment on the bench when she had placed the wallet between them. A test, a moment of trust. And he had taken it. The girl's expression softened, though sadness lingered in her eyes. "I am tired of running. But I cannot stop, not yet. They know too much, and your leaders know nothing. If you want your world safe, someone must carry the truth." The diplomat's hands curled into fists. He had always believed his duty was to his country, his people. But now his duty stretched further, beyond borders, beyond nations, to something larger. Humanity itself. He spoke slowly, each word heavy. "Then tell me everything you know." The girl nodded. She closed her eyes as if steadying herself, then began to speak. Her words painted pictures in his mind. Vast ships cloaked in darkness, creatures that could mimic human faces with terrifying precision, strategies to infiltrate governments without a single bullet fired. She explained how her people had learned to bend light around their bodies, how their agents moved unseen, how they targeted diplomats, ministers, and advisors because those voices shaped nations. The diplomat listened in silence, his breath shallow. Each detail struck him like a hammer, breaking apart the world he thought he knew. When she finished, her silver eyes opened again. Now you see why I ran, and why I cannot fight them alone. The diplomat stepped back, his mind heavy with the weight of her revelations. If even half of what she said was true, his world was hanging by a thread, and now by accident or fate that thread was tied to him. He looked at her, his voice low. If what you say is true, then there is no one I can trust. Not even my own people. Her glow flickered faintly as she whispered, Trust no faces, only choices. The diplomat swallowed hard. He had spent years trusting documents, handshakes, and signatures. But now everything was uncertain. Everyone could be a mask. Everyone could be one of them. The silence stretched heavy between them. At last he asked the only question that mattered. What do we do now? The girl's answer came soft, almost like a vow. Now, we prepare for the war your world cannot see. Her words hung in the night like thunder before a storm, and the diplomat realized that nothing, not his job, not his country, not even his life, would ever be the same again. The alley was quiet, but the diplomat knew it would not stay that way. The hunters were still out there, waiting, circling like wolves. The alien girl stood close beside him, her faint glow painting silver on the dark walls. Her words still echoed in his mind. Now we prepare. For the war your world cannot see. The diplomat felt torn in two. All his training, all his instincts, told him to report this, to call security, to hand her over to those who held authority. That was what a diplomat did. Protect secrets, protect order, follow the chain of command. Yet every part of his heart told him another truth. If he gave her up, she would vanish into the hands of those hunters, and humanity would never know the danger until it was too late. He looked at her, this strange girl with glowing eyes, and saw not only mystery but trust. She had risked herself to return his wallet. She had told him secrets no one else knew, and now, by chance or fate, he was the only human she had chosen to believe in. The girl watched him carefully, as if she could see the war inside his thoughts. You are afraid, she said softly. Yes, he admitted. More afraid than I have ever been. Her eyes did not leave his. Fear is not weakness. Fear means you understand the cost. The diplomat drew a long breath. He thought of his leaders, of the meetings he had sat through where nations argued over borders and trade, blind to the shadow above their skies. He thought of the hunters who wore human faces slipping quietly into power. He thought of her words, trust no faces. Only choices. At last he spoke. If I protect you, they will come after me. After my people. I will be hunted too. The girl nodded once. Yes. And if I betray you? He asked quietly. Her silver glow dimmed. She did not look angry, only sad. Then they win sooner. Your world falls without ever knowing it has been stolen. The weight of the decision pressed on him like stone. His career, his safety, even his life could be destroyed by one choice. Yet what was the value of safety if it meant surrendering the future? The distant hum of another engine broke the silence. He stiffened, listening. The hunters were close again. The girl's eyes flickered with urgency, but she did not move. She waited for him as though his answer mattered more than escape. Finally, the diplomat reached into his coat. His hand closed around the wallet, the object that had begun everything. He pulled it out and pressed it into her hands. Stay behind me, he said firmly. Her eyes widened. You choose me? I choose truth, he replied. And if that means standing against them, then I will stand. For the first time, her face broke into something more than calm. She smiled. A real smile, filled with relief and something almost human. Hope. The sound of footsteps echoed at the mouth of the alley. Two shadows stretched long against the ground. The hunters were coming. The diplomat stepped forward, placing himself between the girl and the danger. His voice carried steady into the darkness. She is under my protection. The hunters did not answer. They moved closer, their steps measured, their presence heavy. The girl whispered behind him, They will not stop. Then neither will I, he said. The moment stretched tight, ready to snap. The hunters advanced. The diplomat held his ground and the girl's glow flared brighter, pulsing with a strange energy that filled the alley. For an instant, the night felt alive, as though two worlds were colliding in silence. The hunters stopped, their heads tilted slightly, studying him. Then, without a word, they stepped back into the shadows. Within seconds, they were gone, swallowed by the night. The diplomat let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. The girl stepped beside him, her glow calming again. "They will return," she said softly. Stronger, more prepared, he nodded. "Then so will we." For a moment they stood together in the silence, two figures from different worlds bound by the same choice. The diplomat realized then that his life as he had known it was finished. He was no longer just a servant of his country. He was now part of something larger, something that stretched beyond nations, beyond Earth itself. The girl turned to him, her voice soft but filled with certainty. "You are now part of something much bigger than your world." The words sank deep into him. He felt fear, yes, but also a strange fire rising inside, a fire he had not felt in years. Purpose. The night wind carried the faint sound of the city beyond, ordinary and unaware. Life went on. People laughed. Cars passed, lights blinked in tall buildings. But here in the shadows, a secret war had begun, and the first line of defense was not an army, not a weapon, but a choice made in silence. The diplomat looked once more at the girl, at her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Then we prepare," he said, and with those words their path was set. The future of humanity now rested not in halls of power, but in the fragile trust between a man and an alien girl on a forgotten street.